Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we like to take a deep dive into the latest tech and gadget news. I'm excited about all the cool stuff we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, me too. There's some really interesting stuff happening right now.
We've got news about the new iPhone and its camera, and then some wild stuff about a new social media payment system.
And we can't forget the AI that's apparently become a coding whiz.
Right? That's going to be fun to unpack. So let's just jump right in and start with the iPhone. This TLDR article about the iPhone 16's camera is pretty mind-blowing. They're saying it can capture 1 billion pixels per second. 1 billion. Is that even a real number?
It's definitely a real number. And it means the iPhone 16 can shoot some seriously impressive slow-motion video. Think about it. You could film a hummingbird flapping its wings, and every detail would be crystal clear.
Wow, okay. That's some next-level stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how often I'd be filming hummingbirds.
Well, the good news is that this technology isn't just for nature documentaries. The iPhone 16 can shoot slow-motion video with the same quality and dynamic range as regular video.
Dynamic range? Yeah. That's the thing with the lights and darks, right?
Exactly. It's the range of light and dark tones a camera can capture.
So basically, no more grainy slow-mo footage. I can get behind that. Although I'll probably still mostly use it to film my dog running around like a maniac.
I think a lot of people will be using it for their pets. But there's another camera update that's pretty cool, too.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
You can now edit the audio in your videos right in the Photos app. No more switching between apps to clean up background noise or anything like that.
That's actually really handy. I'm always struggling with that. It would be great if other phones started doing that, too.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of feature that could become standard across the industry. Other manufacturers might feel the pressure to keep up with Apple.
Speaking of competition, let's move on to the world of social media. X, the one that used to be Twitter, is about to launch its own payment system.
Oh, right, X Money. It's interesting that they're creating their own currency for the platform.
Yeah, it seems a little out there.
Yeah.
But maybe it makes sense.
I mean, it could make transactions within X a lot smoother. Think about it. You could buy things, tip creators, all without leaving the app.
That does sound pretty convenient. But the article I read made it sound like the whole thing is a bit of a mystery. There's no info on how it will actually work with, real money. Plus, with Elon Musk involved, everyone's speculating about crypto.
Right. The details are still pretty vague. The article we read didn't mention anything about fiat currency integration. And yeah, Musk is a big crypto fan, so it's definitely a possibility.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. Okay, ready to talk about this AI that's supposedly a coding superstar.
You mean O3. It's definitely been making headlines.
Yeah, some articles are even saying it's showing signs of, real intelligence. Artificial general intelligence.
Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. O3 is good. Really good. But there's a separate TLDR AI article that takes a more critical look at it and debunks some of the hype.
So is it actually a genius or just a really good coder?
It's definitely sophisticated, but it's important to understand the full picture. There's actually some controversy around how O3's abilities were presented. Some experts are saying the graphs were misleading and that there's not enough transparency around its training data.
So maybe we should take those big claims with a grain of salt.
I think that's a good approach, especially when it comes to something as potentially transformative as AI.
It definitely seems like responsible reporting is crucial in the AI world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to approach these advancements with a critical eye and prioritize transparency and ethical considerations.
Well said. So how about we take a break from the digital world for a minute and talk about something a little more adventurous, like living underwater.
Underwater, like in those sci-fi movies with underwater cities?
Exactly. It might not be science fiction for much longer.
You're talking about the Deep Project, right? They're building an underwater habitat.
Yeah, they want to have people living in the ocean permanently by 2030. Seems pretty ambitious, doesn't it?
It's definitely a huge undertaking, but they're taking a phased approach. This year, they're launching a smaller habitat called Vanguard. It's designed to house 3 divers for up to a week.
So like a test run for the real deal.
Exactly. Then, in 2027, they plan to launch Sentinel, which will be a more permanent structure.
Wow. Just imagine the research possibilities if we could live underwater. Plus, how cool would it be to have an address that ends with Underwater Boulevard?
Huh. I'm sure real estate agents are already dreaming up ocean-themed property descriptions. But jokes aside, there are some serious challenges involved in designing a safe and sustainable underwater habitat. The pressure and conditions of the deep sea are no joke.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to consider. Okay, ready to come back up to the surface and talk about something a little more down to earth? Like smartphones.
Smartphones, what about them?
Well, this TLDR article I read said that the mid-range smartphone market is struggling.
Oh, interesting. What's causing that?
It seems like people are either going all out for premium devices or choosing to buy used or refurbished phones. The middle ground is shrinking.
So the mid-range market is being squeezed from both ends. That makes sense.
Yeah. But why is that happening?
I think there are a few factors at play. One is that there hasn't been much exciting innovation in the mid-range segment. Manufacturers have been focusing on packing their premium devices with all the bells and whistles, while the mid-range options haven't seen as much development.
So people are either willing to pay more for those fancy features or they're finding better value in the pre-owned market.
Exactly. It's all about perceived value. And it makes you wonder what this means for the future of smartphone affordability.
Yeah, it's a good question. Will manufacturers find a way to make mid-range phones more appealing, or will we see an even bigger gap between budget and premium devices?
It's definitely something to keep an eye on, and maybe something for all of us to think about the next time we're shopping for a new phone.
That's a good point. So we've covered a lot of ground today, from billion-pixel cameras to underwater cities and the evolving smartphone landscape. It's amazing to see how technology is pushing boundaries in so many different directions.
It really is. It's a constant reminder that we live in a time of incredible innovation.
Exactly. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure discussing these topics with you.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the deep dive, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions. It's true. It's easy to get caught up in all the hype, especially when it comes to AI.
Yeah, for sure. But it's important to be critical and think about the ethics of it all.
Totally. Okay, so how about we switch gears for a bit and talk about something a little more, I don't know, exciting, like living underwater?
Living underwater. Did you see that article about the company building an underwater habitat?
Yeah, the Deep Project, right? It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? They're actually planning to have people living in the ocean permanently by 2030?
2030, that's only 5 years away. It seems kind of crazy.
It's definitely ambitious, but they're taking a step-by-step approach. They're launching a smaller habitat called Vanguard this year. It's going to house 3 divers for up to a week.
Oh, so it's like a trial run.
Yeah, exactly. A test run for their more permanent structure, Sentinel, which they're planning to launch in 2027.
So they're starting small and working their way up to a full-blown underwater city. Imagine the research possibilities.
Right. We could learn so much about the ocean if we could live down there.
And just think about how cool it would be to have an address that's like 123 Underwater Boulevard.
Huh. I can already see the real estate ads. Oceanfront property, no need for a boat.
Okay.
No.
But seriously, living underwater has to come with some major challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. Designing a habitat that can withstand the pressure and conditions of the deep sea is a huge engineering feat. Plus, there are all sorts of environmental considerations, too.
Yeah, it's definitely not as simple as just building a house underwater. Speaking of things that make you think, let's come back up to the surface for a minute and talk about smartphones.
Smartphones, sure. What's going on in the world of smartphones?
Well, this TLDR article caught my eye. It's about the mid-range smartphone market, and apparently things aren't looking so good.
Really? What's the problem?
It seems like people are either splurging on high-end phones or opting for cheaper used or refurbished models.
So the middle ground is shrinking.
Exactly. The mid-range market is kind of disappearing.
That's interesting. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, the article mentioned a few reasons. One is that there hasn't been much innovation in the mid-range segment lately. Manufacturers have been focusing on packing their premium phones with all the latest and greatest features. But the mid-range phones haven't seen as much development.
So consumers are either willing to pay a premium for those cutting-edge features, or they're finding better value in the pre-owned market.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what this means for the future of affordable smartphones.
It's a good question. Will manufacturers figure out a way to make mid-range phones more appealing, or will we just see a bigger and bigger gap between budget and premium devices?
It's definitely a trend worth watching, and maybe something for all of us to think about the next time we need a new phone.
It's a tough one. I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, it's definitely something to think about. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from cameras that capture 1 billion pixels per second to the possibility of living under the sea and the shrinking mid-range smartphone market. It's pretty wild to see how fast technology is changing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And a little bit overwhelming sometimes,
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it's also pretty exciting to think about what the future holds.
Absolutely. Who knows what incredible innovations are just around the corner?
Exactly. Well, that just about wraps up our deep dive for today.
It's been fun chatting about all this cool tech stuff.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the deep dive, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.